Hi, everyone. Welcome. We have a very special next 30 minutes here. My name is Carly Roth. I'm head of community here at the 10th House and Female Founder Collective, along with Ali Wyatt, our CEO and co-founder. And we have created this time to really dive into a Q&A to understand what FFC and the 10th House is all about, answer some questions that we've received from members and non-members to get clarity on and provide you with a lot of insights. So for those of you who are thinking about joining us inside the community, you have a lot more perspective. We also have two current members who are going to be joining us to share about their personal experiences. We'll ask them some questions so you get a full experience of what it all entails. So without further, we'll kick it over to Ali to say hello. And then without further ado, we'll jump into some questions.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. So just to give a little backstory on FFC and why 10th House, I felt like that could be some good context. You guys have probably seen me talking about this on our socials, but I think it's worth noting that, to be honest, Rebecca and I both came at building businesses from different perspectives. I came at it from having VCs always backing the companies that I was building and having a lot of resources. She came at it from the opposite perspective, where she had always bootstrapped. And now within FFC, I've only bootstrapped. So it's definitely a different vantage point. But the thing that I found most helpful in building businesses was having women who were in a similar situation, other founders. So for example, when I would talk to a woman who was an executive perhaps at a larger company, their perspective was always, there was a lot more resources that were used to being able to utilize or tap into than when you were building your business. So for a CRM, they would recommend a CRM that was like $200,000 a year. And I'm like, we do not have that budget. Or, for maternity leave, they're like, table stakes is you have to do 6 months off. And while I philosophically very much agree with that, it was just not something that we were able to do as a company being so small. So just those sorts of things where context is everything and where you are is everything. And so we wanted to introduce industry specific cohorts that would enable you to meet one another and meet women who are building similar types of businesses so that you can give each other resources, that you can give each other tips. You can talk through not only resourcing, but hiring talent, on whether or not to bring on a co-founder, on whether or not to take on a specific account, and how many doors you should be in at Target versus Whole Foods, et cetera. Something that is new is Growth Track. So I'll let Carly ask the question, but that's something I could not be more excited about for you all.
Yeah. So what is the Growth Track I've been seeing FFC talk about in emails and on social?
So Growth Track is basically your business foundation. And when it comes to building your business, there are things that we have found are tried and true. So, and there are things that we found that you must know in order to be successful. So we've built a 4-week course. Avery Bradford, who's our head of programming, has put it together that really is going to enable you to come away having 4 main things. First one being, who am I as a founder, right, Avery? So you're trying to determine, who am I going to need to hire outside of me, right? Who are those first people that need to be part of the organization? But also, where am I going to spend my precious time? The most important asset for your business in the very beginning is your time and where it's spent. That's where you're going to get the most ROI. Then the next one is setting up KPIs. Is that right, Avery?
Yes. I don't know if you can hear me, but yes.
Yes. Yeah. You're freezing sort of on and off.
Okay.
But it's setting up KPIs. So something that we always talk about here at FFC is what does success look like? And I think that's a question that later on somebody actually asked about is, how do I know if I'm successful? This should be black and white for you. It should not be like, oh, like I don't know if at the end of this year, I'm going to reach cash flow positive. Each week, you should have a dashboard of KPIs, which are key performance indicators that you're looking at to determine, am I on the right track? Is this business being set up for success? Do I need to adjust my numbers? You should never get to a place where you're so far off track that you could potentially lose your business. And I think when we hear those crazy statistics about how many businesses go out of business, it's because they're not taking this time to sort of set these systems up. And then the third is go to market. Is that right, Avery?
The third week is all about financial forecasting.
Oh, financial forecasting. Yeah. So you figure out your KPIs, and that's actually going to be the number one ingredient for the financial forecast that you then are going to be walked through. So I've actually had people ask me, how do I find somebody to help me build a forecast? Or, I've been building a forecast myself, but it's just like numbers I plug into an Excel document. Even if you are a banker, this is something that you should be doing in conjunction with an expert. So we hopefully can take that. We can wipe it off of your operating expenses as something that you would otherwise need to pay for, because you absolutely need a forecast. If you do not do this with us, you must do it elsewhere. Do not try to run your business without one, because it's flying blind. And at any point in time, something catastrophic could happen to your business. So don't do that. And then the final one is go to market, right? Absolutely. So it's like, how am I going to get revenue? How am I going to get customers? Avery, do you want to talk about some of the people that we have coming in specifically for food and beverage to be leading these? Because you need to know, obviously, these are people that know what they're talking about that are going to be guiding you through this.
Yes. And I wanted to note too that this growth track, this accelerator program is hyper specific to food and bev. So we are welcoming our food and bev cohort. So everything that you're seeing here across these 4 weeks is basically a mini MBA program to make sure that you have the foundational education, tools, and resources to have a long-term successful food and bev brand. Something that's really interesting is, and I think special about our program, is we're bringing a different expert every week who has ownership over that topic. So the first week, we're starting out with someone who built a profitable wine brand from day one, which is nearly impossible. And they scaled to over $110 million. And now she advises some of the top, food and bev founders across the globe, not just in the US. And then the following week, we have someone who
She also is a professor at UCLA teaching on entrepreneurship.
Right. And then the second week, we have someone who has grown a beverage brand, and they have backing from people like the Duchess of Sussex. People who have, and it wasn't through because she came from this specific world and had this backing. It was because she built a brand and was boots to the ground and had a mission and was able to then bring on these really incredible investors. And they built such a successful D2C structure that then they were successfully able to launch in retail without those stresses that typical founders face when they're making their way into retail that they're not prepared for. And then the week after that, we're talking about financial forecasting, again, with people who work with incredible CPG brands. And then finally, we're ending week 4 with go-to-market strategies with Michelle Cordado-Grant, who is a serial founder. She built and sold, exited one brand, and now she is starting a multi-million-dollar clean energy brand. And so she has a lot to bring to the table. She knows D2C, she knows retail, and she has the
ambassador programs.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So this is a great program. I'm really excited about it. And we're closing it out with tech. And it's just incredible. So I'm so excited to bring it back with our food and bev founders.
Amazing. Thank you, Avery and Ali, for such an in-depth look in the growth track. And for those of you who don't know, the food and beverage is only our second one. So we are super excited to be able to roll these out in conjunction with the cohorts that we'll be doing seasonally with the 10th house, so that all members in different industries get access to what we're calling like a mini MBA crash course. So we're going to do one more question, then we'll bring in some members. But Ali, how do you define success, and how is success measured for members who are active in the community?
So now with the growth track as part of our experience, it really is going to be a lot easier to sort of measure your success, because if you do go through that program, and I highly encourage you to do so, you're going to be able to actually set up specific goals for your business. So I can't tell you what success looks like for you, but I can tell you that I want it to be growth in your numbers, or creating efficiencies in your business, you spending less time toiling over things that are not actually moving the needle in your business, and you getting more customers. So there are sort of 4 things related to those 4 weeks of learning that we have set out.
And then in conjunction to that, how is it best to get involved in the FFC journey and in the community?
So in terms of the FFC journey, we have a lot of different spokes of it. So you can experience us with the North, which is where we bring in advisors. And actually these advisors give their time specifically to 10th house members. So you would otherwise be paying one-on-one to work with them within the North platform. And that's on a one-off basis. And then you also get time with them inside of the 10th house as part of your membership. So that's a really exciting way to work with us. Obviously, if you're part of the 10th house, the most important thing is that you can choose your own adventure, right? Like you can participate in virtual sessions. I was actually talking to some potential members that are based in the UK and somebody who's based in Hong Kong, and she's like, I need a group here. She can join the virtual sessions and she can get the education, but then she can also, we do have some people internationally, and we have had sessions that have happened in London. I don't think we've had one happen yet in Hong Kong, but spreading the message out to other people that can participate, and then we can put the structure and framework around it. We do have city sessions, like I was just mentioning, and there are 6 major markets that we do most of them in, Carly. And then how many markets would you say we're in terms of doing it? City sessions are actually in-person meetups.
Yep. So because we have what feels like members in every single city in this country, and we're such a small team, city sessions actually lean into our members to help be leaders within their city, to host events and to create gathering experiences for communities. It can be 3 women who get together, because I believe that if you have someone to call, to celebrate with, or to cry with, or to vent with, that you can't do with your family, your partner, your colleagues, or your employees, that is where community actually starts. And it can go upwards to, sometimes in New York, our events lead up to 50 or 60. So, the cadence of each city kind of fluctuates, but over 50 cities, we give them a go. In some cities where, again, there's only 3 or 4 women in attendance, but that's where community starts. So for us to be able to develop and give that relationship to our members makes me very happy.
I agree. So we have our city sessions, and then Avery, who you met, we not only have the growth track, which kicks off your experience, but then we also do expert sessions that are also in person. Those are hosted by us. We bring in somebody who has years upon years of experience, or who has just totally disrupted an industry for you guys to get access to in a really sort of small format capacity, so that you can ask those intimate questions that you'd maybe be uncomfortable asking over email or in another capacity. But those happen every other month, or every month. It's either in LA or New York. It goes back and forth between those 2 cities. And then the other things that we have are Avery's programming that she does, where she's doing ad hoc workshops that are maybe around, you're trying to figure out TikTok and TikTok shop, or what are affiliate marketing strategies, or how do I put together ambassador programs, or UX, or how do I incorporate AI into my business in a way that is going to be meaningful specifically for food and beverage, or whatever industry you're in. right? So we bring in experts that actually lead workshops on these. You can ask questions, get nitty gritty with them as needed. And those ones are virtual. So there's all different flavors for you as you sort of participate. And then there is always on experience on our digital platform where if you have a question, you can come to the wider community and you can ask them whatever question it is so that they can then respond. And you can have people crowdsource answers, and you can sort of take the one that is most relevant to you, have side conversations with individuals that might DM you. And then the final thing that I would note that's really important is that you get access to fundraising opportunities through our investor network. So we'll bring in investors to have conversations with individuals, and then also leveraging one another. Somebody might have talked to a certain investor and they're like, you don't want to work with them, or this is what they're really interested in, and I think that you should talk to them because they're actually looking for this type of investment right now. So, and then finally, pitch demos. It's really important to have a pitch that is refined, that has the right anatomy to it and structure and format. And we teach you guys how to do that. And then we have you practice amongst each other and get feedback in real time from investors as well. And that is quite
amazing.
So it's a big journey you can take with us, but it's a choose your own adventure for sure.
Yeah. And we go through all of this in orientation with all of our new members, but I think this is now a perfect opportunity to bring two current 10th House members to join us, Ali Palerno-Rendon and Juliet Blake. Have you guys both join us. I'll give you guys each a brief bio on each of them, and then I'm going to ask you guys both some questions about your experience. But also, I just want to also reiterate why 10th House is different to other communities is we have the benefit of having women who are service providers like Ali working and learning next to women who are building product-based businesses like Juliet. And the knowledge that each of you are able to share based on your journey actually helps women get a full 360 perspective on navigating the challenges and the obstacles that come with growing a business. So we have this really unique set of members coming with really different perspectives. And the whole intention is to get you out of your weeds, take your blinders off and realize, oh my gosh, I can be solving this problem very differently. I don't have to be spending the money I'm spending, or I can do it cheaply, or someone can network with me. So without further ado, so Juliet is the founder and CEO of Moxie's, the first of its kind, safe by design, research-backed platform built for girls ages 8 to 12. It makes screen time meaningful through confident building quests, avatars, secure groups, giving girls a space to play and supporting healthy online connection while giving parents peace of mind, which I don't have any children yet. One is cooking, and I apologize for sounding so sick. But this is anxious generation and everything with technology. I mean, it's amazing to see that women, surprise, surprise, are generally always solving for a lot of the issues. So excited for that. And Ali is the founder of the Collection Atelier. She leads a next-gen agency model that unites designs and marketing to help founders create their dream fashion brands. At TCA, she has cultivated a collaborative studio environment where brand storytelling and product development converge, guiding clients from first sketches to full-scale launches. She's recognized in the fashion industry, featured in Vogue, Marie Claire, Glamour, and more, with 15 years of transformative experience in global retail, lingerie, and apparel, including driving over $10 billion in revenue at Victoria's Secret. She's known for forecasting industry-defining trends, reimagining design for the modern consumer, and pioneering sustainable innovation. So thank you guys for joining us. I know we're a little tight on time, so I'm going to dive right in. Would love to hear, based on each of your experiences, some tips that you have had to navigate the community. As we covered with Ali, we provide a full experience of things to get involved in. So without feeling overwhelming, Ali, you first, what are some tips and where have you found the most benefit along the way? And then to Juliet.
I think starting at a corporate company before that, like Victoria's Secret, jumping into the founder world was very scary. I think the Female Founders Collective has really offered me the space to be able to connect with other people that are going through the same thing that I was. It's really allowed me to kind of create my own community based off of the other members and what's going on. I think the biggest tip I would say would be to utilize this space as much as you can, meaning Circle especially. I'd say Circle is kind of like your ultimate, like, forget ChatGPT. You can ask Circle anything and you get real people coming back to you. And you're really able to connect with the members and figure out ways to help each other along the way, which has been really special.
Yeah, I'm happy you touched on that. We always like to say the 10th house is there for the things that you can't Google and AI can't give you answers on. So.
Exactly.
I just realized that. I'm like, wait, now people go to AI, but yeah, you can't get these answers.
And what about you, Juliet?
Yeah, so I joined the 10th house during the tech cohort, I guess like a year and a half ago. And I had found kind of similar to what Ali was talking about in the beginning, that there were, being a tech founder is very different than being a founder of a beauty brand or CPG brand or even an agency. And so for me, I think the biggest tip is being able to connect with those very community specific groups within the 10th house. That to me was like why I ended up joining versus other similar types of communities, because I actually had joined a few others and I wasn't really getting out much from it in terms of the specifics, also to the point of, there's a lot of specific questions in your industry and being able to ask other people those questions. The other thing that I would add too is it's a very collaborative community. And so, everyone is working on something really cool and really interesting, but at the same time, everyone that I have connected with in the 10th house also really wants to help each other and actually provide real meaningful support, which again is not something that you can get in a lot of places. So, I think being open to those conversations, like I have two really key people that I work with on a day-to-day basis that I found through the 10th house that were not like, that's not how the conversation started at all. Like we just had similar interests and we started talking, and after months of just talking, like, maybe we can work together. Maybe this could be something really cool. And they've been two of the most meaningful and valuable additions to my team that I, like literally they got me to launch. So I think just really keeping kind of an open mind in terms of who you're connecting with, and just know that people within the community actually do want to support you, and just get to know what you're building, and they're not necessarily looking for like, oh, this is going to turn into a partnership or a business relationship. Both of these relationships started with us just collaboratively being curious about somebody else's business and helping each other organically and naturally. And it wasn't until months later that we're like, maybe we should do something more with this.
No, I love hearing that. I feel like so much magic happens behind the scenes, and it's like you don't know what you don't know. So if nobody tells us, we don't know what's really happening. Ali, have you had any, game-changing introductions or networking opportunities that have like fundamentally helped the business?
Yes, absolutely. So I've actually met 3 or 4 clients through female founders, also, which started off as super organic conversations, similar interests, similar industry background. One of them was Danielle Rushton, who owns Wherewithal Intimates, who was also a part of 10th House. And we had immediately connected in the first week. I messaged her because I saw she was running a lingerie company and was like, oh my God, I have so much I can talk to you about. And since then, I've become creative director of her brand, which has been really exciting and totally all thanks to you guys, because we never would have met otherwise.
Oh, I love that. I didn't know that.
I know.
So great.
It makes me so proud. And last question before we get into some housekeeping. Have either of you really leveraged the in-person experiences? Because, for a lot of the women watching, we have the online community that we've referenced. We also have the in-person, and then we have all the digital experiences and the education. But have you guys have you made time for the in-person, and how are those experiences?
I can jump in quick. Yes, I try and make time for the in-person experiences. I'm in the New York area, so it's great to be able to go to some of them, going to one next week. But I also did for the first time this year, the big event that you guys had in March. And I was actually just talking to someone about that event today, because those panels, I think, were so actionable. Again, I've been to a lot of different events and conferences, and they're not always that meaningful, or I'm not learning that much, or it's just kind of like an echo chamber of people saying the same thing over and over again. But that event I thought was, one, from a networking perspective, just meeting so many interesting people, one of those people that is now working with me, but two, from the actual like the education that those events provided. I found that one to be so helpful. Plus, I feel like I had a moment with Sarah Blakely, and that was also really exciting. So.
Yeah. Love that.
I completely agree as well with the Female Founders event too. The Express event was absolutely amazing. I can't say more great things about it. And it's also really exciting to kind of talk to everyone in person and see what people are working on. I think the biggest thing about Female Founders is it's not a competitive network at all. Everyone truly wants to help each other. And I think that's really rare to find when you're talking to people about your business. It's like, it could be very competitive feeling. Female Founders is not like that. It's the most supportive group of women around.
That means so much, because from a community perspective, that has been like our number one pillar, right? Like, how do we all tides rise, rising ships? And, from the first meeting Ali and I had almost 4.5 years ago, that was really the North Star of creating a space where like nobody feels alone or that they're getting pushed to the side, and just reminded that you're all navigating a lot of the same things. While it feels like you're alone, you're not. Thank you, ladies, both so much. Really insightful to have your learnings and your experience to share with other women. For those of you watching, our cohort is closing on Friday. Even though if it is for food and beverage, if you are in a different industry, not to worry, you can still apply. We will place you in your respective spaces within the community. You'll be joining orientation, which is a general overview of everything we have coming up in the community, how best to utilize it, taking learnings from these two, and making the most of your time with us. So you have until Friday. We hope you're able to join us. It is truly game changing. And I think at the end of the day, the number one thing is you put in what you get out. So the more you're able to participate in either online or in-person experiences, joining in an event for 30 minutes instead of the full hour makes a huge difference. But if you don't say hello and you don't share what you're doing, nobody knows that you need help. So always raise your hand, reach out to have a coffee. As both of these women shared, they could lead to really game-changing experiences for both you and your business. So thank you, and we hope we'll see you guys all in the 10th house soon.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Ali. Thanks, Julia.